Alright, what's up everybody? Welcome to another one of my YouTube videos. If you were here on April 30th stream on Twitch, you'll probably have seen what's coming, but this is going to be a video discussing the 0.2.g patch notes, whatever they called it, as well as how to use Craft of Exile. And it'll make more sense after why I'm putting these two topics in the same video. But just to quickly go over the patch notes, there's a few things. The first thing that I wanted to point out is that they are dropping the effect of player rarity. This is interesting because it's the only thing that you can do as a player to gear yourself and just have a constant improvement on drops. So if they're reducing the impact of player rarity, I think that's going to be having some interesting changes. And then to offset that, they are pushing players to rely more on waystones having rarity on them, on tablets having rarity on them, and quantity. So it's, to me, confusing. It hurts every other piece of content that isn't mapping, where you can actually start juicing all the tablets and towers and whatnot. And just devalues some gear that is already difficult to roll well, because you are inherently losing at least one slot on each of those pieces of gear that you're rolling rarity on, just to build up this stat that's supposed to help improve your loot. And now, I'm not even going to go into my own experience running 30 maps with over 100% rarity and getting absolutely nothing. But let's just go back into the patch notes. And the reason for this video, the big thing that I just feel that GGG is not really tackling or discussing much is these rare items. These rare items that drop. How many times have you gone back to town, ID'd it, and just said, it's trash, and vendored it? This is like 99.99% of the items that you pick up and ID. And that's because of what we call mod weightings. Mod weightings are the likelihood of the modifiers and the different tiers of the modifiers to roll on the item. And that's effectively it, is you're picking up these rares, and because these low tier mods like 1 to 3 lightning are just so high, so common, it doesn't really give you the opportunity to be excited about rare loot. And going through these patch notes, there's so much discussion of, oh, well, unique bosses will always drop a rare item, and I'm just sitting here going, who cares? Who gives a shit about a guaranteed rare item? Like, every rare off the ground has the potential to be, a mirror tier item. Right, sure. But it's just the fact that it's un-ID'd, and it is so cumbersome, and to hit a mirror tier item off the ground, you don't even want to know the rates. And I'll go into that more later. So there's always that argument, oh, well, if everything dropped identified, then people would just filter for mirror tier items off the ground. And realistically, I mean, players will never see that. So this whole patch just felt super strange. Always drop a rare item, as if that really matters. We're talking about, in 99.999% of cases, it's just going to be something that you vendor. So that was the bulk of the patch, and this is where I was just going, okay. So now to tie this into Craft of Exile. Craft of Exile is a site that allows you to simulate crafts. And what we're going to do today is I wanted to show you a few things. One is I wanted to show you simulating rare loot off the ground, simulating picking up whites, and then using essences, and what that would look like on trade site. So there's one caveat, is that Craft of Exile, we don't know the official weights of items, or modifiers, I should say. We have ideas, and different people have used different strategies. Most notably, Craft of Exile's modifiers and tiers and weights are being pulled through a script on the trade site. So they analyze all the items listed on a trade site, as many as possible, and then collect all that data. It's like, okay, well, you have a tier 5 of this prefix. You have, and they go like that, and they just count how many of each prefix. And they do mention it, that there is some modifiers are more desirable and harder to hit, and when they're harder to hit, it's more likely that somebody will list them on trade site. Versus if you see something and it's all min rolls, you're less likely to list that on trade site. So I do believe that in Craft of Exile, the weights for PoE 2 are actually higher than they really are for the higher tier modifiers, just because those are way more likely to be listed on trade site, even for cheap, because they'll have 5 other garbage affixes and 1 good affix, and then they get pulled into the weightings. But anyway, we cannot blame Craft of Exile for this. They did the best. I assume they did the best they could to gather as accurate data and normalize it in some way for us to be able to use. So again, nothing against Craft of Exile. It's a wonderful service, and we are going to be using it today. So the numbers I share are not going to be super accurate, but they are what they are. And the reason I also it's not just, oh, I think the mods could be wrong. I was trying to do a scepter craft, and the step that we were on was to get a tier 1 prefix, was to chaos into a tier 1 prefix. And as you can see in the results, chaosing is around a 1 out of 200 and some odd ratio to hit a tier 1 prefix off of a chaos orb. This scepter, keeping in mind that because we have a fractured minion skills, it is more likely for us to hit a prefix with the chaos orb, so we should have been even higher chance to hit this. We went 1,700 chaos orbs in to hit this tier 1 ally damage. So again, no tier 1 spirit, no tier 1 hybrid spirit, and then 1 tier 1 ally damage in 1,700 chaos orbs. Now, of course, you might just say that could have been luck, and yes, it could have been. I don't have a huge amount of data either. It is just generally quite far off is the thing of what people experience in-game versus what we experience on Craft of Exile. But again, like I said, nothing against Craft of Exile. So, let's continue. This was the Scepter Craft. Now, what Craft of Exile does, so here we're showing an example, and today I'll go through quarterstaffs. Here you can see how to read Craft of Exile. In PoE 1, Tier 1 meant the best. Tier 1 meant the best. So, Craft of Exile continues this and saying Tier 1 is the best of a modifier. So when you're reading this, yep, Tier 1 elemental damage with attacks, that's this one. Item level, this is the item level that the item needs to be able to roll this modifier. So if I press Alt, I see item level 84. This is the item level of the Scepter. So if I were to look at Scepters, then anything that needs item level 84 to roll, that one would be available to get those modifiers. If it was even 83, well, too bad. Any eye level 84 modifiers would not be possible. In general, most items have modifiers that roll up to eye level 82. Nothing besides the implicit skills rolls at 84. So if you have something with implicit skills, like a Scepter with the minions, So scepters, wands, the decomposed boots, things like that. Anything that has an implicit skill rolls level 19 at 84, but otherwise, generally every item will be capped at the highest modifier being 82. And if we're looking at quarterstaffs, here's an example. Increased physical percent is an eye level 82 modifier. So it needs to be item level 82 for it to even have a chance to roll this. And this won't make a difference for what we're doing here, because I am going to assume that everything we're picking up is at least item level 82, so everything is in the pool. But it is worth keeping in mind that, especially with 0.2, making it more difficult for maps to be tier 18, meaning that you have corruption +1 or cleansing +1 in this case, that you can have in 0.2, and irradiate, and the tier 16 waystone. It's the innate modifier for +1 area level is much more rare this league. So generally, players are going to be seeing far less eye level 82 items. Especially since Simulacrum, while still a good farm, especially for bases, no longer gives experience, so players are probably less likely to spend so much time in Simu this league. So to continue on, again, how to read this, we see, okay, tier 1, the best physical percent, takes item level 82, and the weighting, so you have a 75 weighting. So let's say you did an omen just to hit prefixes and a sinestral erasure. This is 75 out of 54,575. That would be your chance to hit that, assuming you don't already have one of these mods. So, increased physical percent, obviously you can't have a tier 8 with a tier 1 of the same grouping. So, that's how to read the modifiers. And again, we have a PoE2DB, which is another amazing resource. Highly recommend you use this, and you can do the same thing. Here, they actually have a lower weighting. PoE2DB uses a different weighting, and this might even be more accurate. Again, here they have a whole discussion about how they're pulling their weights. So, not going to get into whose is more accurate. This very well may be more accurate. And highly recommend you can go again. Here they'll show you the item level and how many tiers are for each grouping. Okay, so let's get into the whole thing of this whole rant of what is Craft of Exile. So again, Craft of Exile allows you to simulate crafts and bulk crafts. And we're going to use it to simulate ground rare loot. So rare items off the ground. And we're going to assume that everything we pick up is eye level 82 or higher, just for the sake of showing. Here we're picking up a white. So here we always have to start with a white item for bulk crafting. So what I'm doing to start is we're going to alch it and check, does it have at least a tier 2 physical modifier? So either the percent physical or the flat physical. Does it have at least tier 2? Remember that tier 2 is second best, tier 1 would be the best. So does it have at least a single tier 2 modifier off the ground? So you're picking up a rare, it has 4 lines. Does it have at least one good modifier? If it does, continue crafting it. If it has both, so tier 1 or tier 2 of both of those mods, finish, and then we'll see the result. If not, Chaos Orbit. And then if it loses the modifier, we delete it. So if it loses the good modifier, we delete it. Otherwise, we Chaos Orbit again until we either lose it or complete the item. And you're going to see that the items that we're producing are nothing special. There are probably some winners and some kind of losers. So here we have Leech, reduced attribute requirement, Dex is the suffixes. So again, we're not even talking about, oh, you hit like the two good physical mods, which are generally the most important for things like weapons. We're not even talking about, oh, you hit the 2 good modifiers and you have like 3 perfect suffixes. No, we're just saying, what does it take to even just hit those 2 modifiers, which are the core of the quarterstaff? And results, actions on the alch. So this is assuming this is effectively that we picked up 16,621 rare quarterstaffs off the ground. Eye level 82 again. 411 of them passed, and remember that Craft of Exile's weights, I would think, are higher than what they actually are. And if we go into their weights here, they have a 75 weighting for increased physical damage. 75 out of 54,000. PoE2DB, with their weighting, has a 25 out of 44,000. That's significantly lower. So again, if you believe that PoE2DBs, and I do actually would tend more with PoE2DBs weightings, again, nothing is official, then this is overstated. This chance to hit this is overstated. Again, we're not going to get too much into that. But you would still only pass 2.4% of rares off the ground that you pick up, actually identify, and then look for one of the 2 good modifiers on it. Then you finish exalting it. So we continue. We exalt. So we exalt the 6 lines. We check, does it have both modifiers, chaos, etc. Out of the 411 that we picked up and fully exalted to 6 lines, only 3 of them passed the final check, which is that it had both of the lines. And then 7 of them went to chaosing. And we spent 2,500 chaos orbs on those remaining, the ones that did not pass the initial check, those 411. And this is over 100 divs worth of chaos orbs. To hit 7 more, because I set it to a max of 10, to store 10, how many would it take to hit 10? And then we can see, okay, so these quarterstaffs, they're nothing crazy. +7 to melee skills, quite nice. Stun buildup, or stun duration, stun buildup, and leech, like with a mid cold damage, double T2, something like this is not going to go for very much. And I believe I had it open here. We're talking about not even a div for maybe 1 to 2 divs for something equivalent. Again, it's nothing special that we're showing here. And we're talking in the range of, again, 16,600 rares. So when we go back and they say, always drops a rare item, first of all, we're not even guaranteeing that it's a rare item of a base that we care about. It's just a rare item. So I really feel, especially for SSF players, a guaranteed rare item is just, I mean, it's still another chance for an upgrade. It always is, if you decide to check it. But man, it doesn't really help if you just get flooded with garbage. So, yeah, that's effectively it. So again, the quality of these quarterstaffs, you may hit something very special. I know when I was doing this test yesterday on stream, we did hit a very impressive quarterstaff with this simulation. But nothing here stands out from just, again, this is simulations. And again, you spent over 100 divs in Chaos Orbs. You picked up 16,000 rares off the ground. You still have to spend 411 exalts. Sorry, 822 exalts. Since 411 quarterstaffs pass, so you need 2 exalts each, 822 exalts. And most of those quarterstaffs are probably in the range of 1 to 2 divs. Like here for 3 divs, I would say this one's even better than what we've seen for 3 divs. But again, that's not what we're here for. And then we show, now we're going to do the same test, starting with a white base, and then we're going to essence from the start. We're going to essence from the start. And do the same steps after. So we essence, and we take significantly less. It takes us significantly less bases to hit those 10 items. And then I can just show you how the simulation runs. And again, it takes us significantly less to finish those 10 bases. It takes us less Chaos Orbs because more of the crafts finish right off the bat. More of the crafts finish, again, right after the essences and the exalts. Again, nothing crazy. This one actually looks pretty decent. Probably worth more than 3 divs. This one actually looks quite good with a +7 and a crit damage bonus. Again, that's not what we're here for. but it takes us far less bases, though you do have to use essences, which again, you have to collect. If you're on SSF, you might not have 10,000 essences to spend on 10,000 white bases. But again, we're essencing, we're checking that it has at least one of the 2 good mods before we invest in greater essence, and then we finish the craft. And we come up with around 304, or sorry, 6 out of 11,000 bases or so completed right off the bat, before you even had to touch Chaos Orbs to do this. Which is significantly better than our just off-the-ground rarest crafts. I know, obviously, it is better, because you can, the whole point of the essence is that you're influencing that it guarantees you a physical mod. Now, weapons might not be the most fair, especially when we're talking quarterstaffs, because those Torment essences can hit Leech. So, it is what it is. But again, this is what you can do. So to walk you through it, Essence, Aug, we check if we have one of the 2 good mods after the Aug. Essence, Exalt to max. Check if we have 2 of the good mods. If we do, complete the craft. If not, continue. Chaos, do we have the 2 good mods? If yes, finish. If not, continue. And then this is just a filter to check, do we still have one of the 2 good mods after chaosing? If we do, go back to chaos. If not, restart the craft from scratch if we lost the mod. So that's how to read this. And just to give you an example of what you can do with this, here I have wands. Here I have wands. And to walk you through it, this is an example of more or less the steps you would take, at least what I thought. I didn't go for a mirror tier wand craft last league, but what I would expect is what it looks like to go for a mirror tier wand craft, and you can use this to simulate different variants as well. So if you wanted to say, okay, how does it look like if I'm targeting this suffix first, the +5 to minion all lightning spells first, and then using the haste to get the cast speed? How can I structure this craft differently? Using the different essences, the omens, when do I just cut off and say, okay, this one's a dud, restart, and yeah. So this is an example of one of the flowcharts that you can use, and the cool thing about Craft of Exile, it even gives you a flowchart. You can even click flowchart and see, okay, we have lesser essence, Aug. If it fails the check here, restart. Greater essence, if it fails the cast speed check, restart. Exalt, exalt, exalt. If it succeeds, we have everything perfect, done. If not, filter. Here we're checking if the gain, if we have one of the top tier gain as extras, or the highest tier of hybrid before we continue, because if we do have one of those highest tiers, it needs to be erased. So if you go here over to the PoE2DB, and this is very important, if you are ever going to be using an Omen, especially Whittle, I highly recommend that you go to PoE2DB before you use that Whittle, and you make absolutely sure that the modifier that you're looking to Whittle is indeed the lowest item level modifier. There is even a bug right now in PoE2 with fractured items where it will not show the correct modifier to be whittled. So whittlings use the lowest item level modifier. So here in PoE2DB, this is the item level of the modifier. So this is, again, remember what I was talking early in the video, the item level required for the modifier. And then you would see, okay, well, the hybrid spell is 79. And remember, our optimal craft, we want a highest tier of mana, which is 69. Meaning that it's difficult to whittle from the hybrid spell into that max mana. Not that it's impossible. And then the other thing is, these gain extras, gain as fire, cold, and lightning, are the same tier as spell damage, your highest tier of spell damage. Meaning that your whittle will hit could hit one of these, if you have these mods on, your whittle will hit one of these, or the spell damage. So, again, you can structure this craft in different ways. This is a very simplistic approach. If you get one of those brick mods, use the erasure until you remove it. If not, whittle until you finish the craft. There are definitely better ways to go about this. It's not really the point, but you can just simulate it. Okay, what does it take? Okay, it takes us 2,600 whittles. Are you willing to put in 2,600 whittles for this? And if the answer is no, then there you go. And so here you go. This is one Mirror Tier wand. This one would still have to be finished with a few almonds. But doesn't seem they don't have all the omens. But again, so this is an example of a Craft of Exile, and it's very easy to set up. It's very easy to set up these kinds of simulated crafts. So why did I go through all of this Craft of Exile? The whole point of this was really to showcase Craft of Exile. I think it's a really cool tool for users to know about. And two is that I was trying to show that rares off the ground are just not satisfying. You can see that it's just... I'm generally more excited to see a white base that's item level 82 so that I can essence it and influence it more and have a better chance at hitting something right off the ground. Well, I mean, after the essence. Versus just picking up a rare where it's diddly squat. You diddly squat. One good thing that came out of this patch, though, is they did address that higher tier rares, so tier 2 to tier 5s, should prove to be more effective. So we do actually get something positive out of this patch, in that it should be more exciting going forward, assuming again, we don't know the weights, but mods of tiered rares have also been improved by cutting out more low-level mods, making them better on average than before. Again, better than average. Who knows what this means? Considering Last Flame was like a 0.2% drop chance from Zarok, which for most players is taking 20 to 30 minutes to clear, and they consider that too common. So we don't know what better than average means for them. Could it mean 0.1% better on average? Maybe. Could be 20% better on average. We don't know. But again, this is a good statement, at least. If it is actually genuinely better on average, as in noticeably better on average, it should make those tiered rares more exciting, which is what rare loot should be. I just dislike this idea that if you see just a rare quarterstaff on the ground, I was just using quarterstaffs as an example for this video, that it's just not valuable, not exciting. You're gonna be filtering through thousands of quarterstaffs before you have one with a good mod. And again, this is not even referring to the fact that the highest tier physical percent is locked to item level 82, and most of the time you're probably not even seeing item level 82 mods if you're just doing tier 15 maps. So, hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it helped you. Let me know if you do decide to use Craft of Exile, what are you going to simulate with Craft of Exile? What item do you want to simulate? So that was the bulk of this video. I'll just show a setup to... We can do the same calculator or the same simulator for, let's say a helmet. So again, this is the end of the video. I'll just show, okay, let's say we're making a helmet. We're going to use an int helmet, the Kamasan Tiara, item level 82. And then we're going to go, we're going to start with an essence, and you can choose what essence you want. I believe it was enhancement for defense. Then we set automatic success. The reason I set automatic success is that if you hit let's say you're looking for, actually in this case it should always be a prefix on this item, so we can actually just check it right here. We want either increased energy shield or the flat. And then on failure, restart. On success, continue. Then we aug. So if it has passed this step, it means that our aug is going to add a suffix. This step will always be a prefix. Then we can go to greater essence. We will use the same essence of enhancement. And we are, again, looking for the same modifiers. Whoops. We copied. Now we're looking for the same modifiers. And we can use this. This is just a basic simulation. How often can we hit double T1 energy shield on this helmet using essences? So if you just bought a bunch of white bases, I missed something. This should be restart. All right, 1 out of 30-ish, based on their weightings. If you double essence, would hit double tier 1 energy shields, and this would be the start for a very strong craft. So again, then you would have the start of a very strong craft, and this is how you would be looking to hit those highest tier of energy shields, energy shield helmets. Then you can even go on and configure and say, okay, well, I want to exalt. And there's another way you can do this exalt. You can say, not open affix, and then you can say on failure restart, because if it has an open affix, it'll count as failed, and it will restart and exalt again until it is full. So instead of doing these 3 steps, the thing is, I generally don't like this method. I'd rather just have the extra step going, just so that I can, again, filter my craft right here. And if you want to say, okay, well, we have here, we know that we're guaranteed, if we finish here, we know that we're guaranteed the 2 highest tiers. What does it look like to hit the highest, the absolute highest tier at this point? Most energy shield possible. So now we take the hybrid energy shields and see, okay, how many crafts are going to hit the highest tier energy shield? Probably should just configure that we fixed for 1 item. There we go. And there you go. You have a 452 energy shield before any Iron Ruins. And then you would div this to perfect. And there you go. You would probably use some omens to fix the suffixes, because at this point you're probably going for a mirror tier craft. And this, I would probably say, is quite lucky. You hit this on your 3rd craft. So there you go. There you have it. So this is just an example of how you can utilize Craft of Exile to simulate a craft. So, hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what your first craft will be. What are your thoughts about 0.2G? In the comments, I will read and answer all of them, as much as I can anyway. And I will see you next time.